Causes and consequences of the Sino-Indian War. The Sino-Indian Border War was a border war between the People's Republic of China, PRC, and India in southern Tibet in June or October-November 1962, which is commonly known as the Sino-Indian border counterattack in self-defense in China and as the Battle of Warang in India. The British and Indian governments took advantage of the fact that the Sino-Indian border had never been formally demarcated and drew the so-called McMahon Line without authorization to carry out aggressive expansionist activities in Tibet and Xinjiang of China, thus laying the root of the Sino-Indian dispute. The Chinese government has never recognized the McMahon Line or the Johnson Line. However, in the Sino-Indian Boundary Negotiation Agreement, China indirectly recognized India's sovereignty over Sikkim and made major concessions to settle the boundary dispute. After gaining independence in 1947, India repeatedly occupied Chinese territory. In March 1959, the victory of counterinsurgency in Tibet eliminated the social basis for the conspiracy of Chinese and foreign reactionary forces to create independence for Tibet and dashed India's attempts to fantasize about a buffer state. The Indian authorities, on the other hand, either explicitly or implicitly supported the ethnic separatist forces in Tibet, casting a shadow over the relations between the two countries. The Indian government deliberately provokes border disputes with China and creates border tensions, thus seriously deteriorating Sino-Indian relations. China had no choice but to close the door to peace talks after unsuccessful attempts to resolve the territorial dispute peacefully with India. On October 24, 1962, a statement was issued putting forward 3 proposals for a peaceful settlement of the Sino-Indian border issue. On November 4, 1962, Zhou Enlai again wrote to Nehru, calling on India to respond positively to the Chinese government's 3 proposals, pointing out that China's 3 proposals were reciprocal rather than one-sided, equal rather than submissive, mutually accommodating rather than imposing, mutually respectful rather than bullying one side, and amicable and consultative rather than arbitrary and despotic for both sides. India, however, rejected the 3 proposals of my government. On November 14 and 16, 1962, it launched another fierce attack on our troops. In view of this, another heavy blow must be dealt to the Indian Army in order to ease the tension on the border and to create conditions for a negotiated settlement of the border question. Therefore, the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and the Central Military Commission decided to counterattack the invading Indian Army again. From November 16 to 21, 1962, in the face of another armed invasion by the Indians, the Central Military Commission ordered the Tibet and Xinjiang Border Defense Forces to continue to counterattack the invading Indians in the eastern and western sectors, respectively. At 2400 hours on November 21, 1962, our government issued a statement announcing that in order to facilitate a peaceful settlement of the Sino-Indian border issue, our troops decided to take the initiative to cease fire as of 0000 hours on November 22, 1962, and to withdraw to the area 20 kilometers inside the line of actual control of both sides as of November 7, 1959, starting from December 1, 1962 on their own initiative. November 22, 1962, 0 hours. Chinese troops followed Mao Zedong's order for a ceasefire along the entire length of the Sino-Indian border. On December 1, 1962, the Chinese army withdrew on its own initiative. On March 1, 1963, all retreated to within 20 kilometers of the November 7, 1959 line of actual control. In the entire self-defense counterattack, the Chinese army annihilated 3 Indian brigades, 7th Brigade, 62nd Brigade, 4th Artillery Brigade, basically annihilated 3 Indian brigades, 112th Brigade, 48th Brigade, 65th Brigade, and annihilated one part of each of the Indian 5th Brigade, 67th Brigade, 114th Brigade, 129th Brigade, killed and wounded 4,885 soldiers, including the commander of the 62nd Brigade, Brigadier General Ho-Hil Singh. Brigadier General Hoshiar Singh killed and wounded 4,885 people, captured the commander of the 7th Indian Brigade, Mr. G. Captured the commander of the 7th Indian Brigade, Brigadier General Darwi, commander of the 7th Indian Brigade, captured 3,968 men, including 26 colonels and 29 lieutenants. 722 Chinese border guards killed in action, including 82 officers and 640 soldiers. 697 wounded, including 173 officers and 524 soldiers. After the end of the War of Self-Defense against India, the Chinese army took the initiative to withdraw to the traditional customary line. Some people think that there is a suspicion of giving up the fruits of victory, but at that time, under the national situation and national strength, China really did not have enough power to maintain a long-term garrison in the disputed area. Even the logistical support for the one-month combat operation at that time was realized only after considerable efforts, and immediately entering the winter, the pressure of logistics is even greater. Moreover, after this battle, India was taught a solid lesson, and since then, the shadow of 1962 has become a lingering nightmare for the Indian Army, fully realizing Chairman Mao's pre-war demand of fighting for 50 years of peace.